Hi everybody and welcome to Saturday Sampler. Well, it's December. We've made it 12 months. We are at the finishing steps of our beautiful quilts. And so we just have the outside borders to put in, well, the inner and outside border to put in. And so I'm going to be talking about the cutting and the piecing of those all in one go at it. And I have one final recipe for you. No, I don't have it made. You know, the holidays caught up with me a little bit, but I have this fabulous recipe. I'm going to be making it this weekend for family. And we do enjoy it every year. And they're red velvet gooey butter cookies. And I have to tell you, they are so delicious. They've become a family favorite over the last 2 years. And I have to say that I actually make them on Valentine's Day too. And I shape them into little hearts. And they're really good, chocolatey, yummy, so delicious. So please make some. And I guess I have a kitty that's decided that he wants to be a part of the final filming. We have to have Bingley here. So first we're going to be looking at page 15, and this is the center assembly and the final border. So of course, if you haven't done it already, it's time to put together that middle part of the quilt. But I know a lot of you have already done that. And then we're going to be putting that chevron border, which is this part right here. This chevron border that's here. So you've already made the chevrons. Now that we're just going to be attaching them. So you're going to be taking your fabric 13, which is this color right here. All of the outside borders are in your final packet. And you're going to be cutting 4 6.5-inch strips out of that last piece that you have. And then out of each strip, you're going to be cutting 1 23.5-inch piece. And then what's left out of that strip, you'll be cutting 1 17.5-inch piece. So you'll get that out of each strip. So there's my 17.5-inch piece and my 23.5-inch piece right here. Okay, so simple enough. You have 1 out of each strip and you need 4 total. And so you'll see that identified. And for the top and bottom, out of the right and left side of that chevron, you're going to add your 23.5-inch strip. And on your sides, you're going to be adding that 17.5-inch strip. And you're simply going to be sewing them top and bottom and sides. Okay, and then watch the positioning of your chevrons, the coloring. And so the kind of the magenta color is going to be facing outward. It's going to be matching that next border strip on all sides. So just watch that color placement. You'll be sewing that onto the sides. Okay, so I'm going to be getting that out of the way. Let me set that aside. And then we're going to be moving on to page 16. And we have 2 colors. We have color 12, which is the kind of magenta-y looking piece. And then we'll have our big outside border. So from those pieces, you need to cut 9 with the fabric 2.5-inch strips. Okay, and then we'll make a straight end connection to make these long pieces. You need 2 strips that are 2.5 by 92.5 and 2 strips that are 2.5 by 88.5. So they say that you need like 2.5 lengths, but really you need 2 lengths and about 10 inches. Okay, for that 92.5. And then you need 2 lengths and about 5 inches for the 88.5-inch. So here I've joined them, straight joins across. And when I press, I like to press I haven't done it yet, but I like to press those seams open so that they set really flat. So I'll just kind of take my hands and press the seam open and press it. So now how do I trim this down to 92.5? Do I take my ruler and measure it across? I don't do that, but just to give you a little trick, what I do on this long one is I fold it in half. So there's my end, and I lay it out on my table here. Well, not on this one, but on my cutting table behind me, but just to demo it for you. So I take the measurement, what's half of 92.5 is 46.25. So that makes it a little easier to measure. And then I'll take my long ruler, and I have a 24.5 ruler, but I'll use it at the 24 just because the math is a little easier. And I'll place it at the 24. So I'm right at the fold. And then at 24, I'll stick a pin in. Okay. And then I'll just push it down because I like to have that ruler flattening out my measurements. So then I'll go up and I'll measure it till it gets to 46. Okay, so 24, 46. When I get to that. Pardon?
46.25.
46.25. Okay, so I'll just do the measurement. When I get to there, I'll mark it. Then I'll put my straight edge and cut that off. And then I know that it's a perfect measurement. I'll do that for those two sides. When I get to 88.5, so it's 44.25. I'll do that for those two sides. I always measure my big sides, no matter what quilt I have. I always fold them in half and do the cutting that way than making this big cut because I don't feel it's exact that way. So that's just a little tip or a trick of how I do my border side measurements. Okay, so with that, you're going to be putting those on the side. That's your little inner border here. So you're going to be sewing the sides and then the top and bottom, and I pin it to the sides and I measure the middle, and then I pin, stick pins here so that it's sitting evenly, and then I sew it. Okay, so I always start in the middle. I mark the middle of my strip to the middle of the quilt. I mark the outsides with pins, and then I'll pin it periodically so that it's sitting even before I sew it. Top and bottom and sides, and then press to the outside. Okay, now we have one more border, which is where you have the hourglass pieces that you've made, and you're going to be adding these big strips. So what they have you do, and I found that this was, I don't know, inaccurate and error. It says cut one 48.5-inch piece by width of fabric, but then you have to cut 4 8 by 47.5-inch pieces. So I just said cut one 47.5-inch piece, because then you're going to cross cut it 8 by 47.5-inch. So just change that. So how did I cut this big long piece at 47.5 inches? Well, I did it the same way. I took my big piece and I took my ruler and I laid it out and I marked it at the 24. I stuck a pin and then I marked it till I got to 47.5. I marked it and then I took my straight edge. I like to have my ruler compressing the fabric. I just don't lay it out on my big cutting mat and lay it across and measure it there and cut it, because I'm not getting any compression on the fabric. So if it has any lumps and bumps, then the fabric might be more than 47.5 inches or less if something goes wrong and it may not fit properly. But if you're compressing it with the ruler on top, you know that it's going to be exact. Okay? So I mark it with my pin. I get it cut to 47.5 inches. So now I have this big long piece, and I did fold it several times and then turn it. And then I had this ruler that's at 8.5 inches, and I could cut it down into 8-inch strips. So I just folded it several times to this more manageable size. I folded it up and then cut off the edge and then cut it into 2 8-inch strips, because then when you unfold it, there's 2 there to use, and you need 4 total. So I have 8 by 37.5. Okay. So you need 4 of those, and then I have this much left over that's long, and I'll cut those into binding, and you can cut it at 2.5. I cut mine at 2.25, whatever suits you. Okay, and then you still have some fabric left over to cut into binding. I just measure, figure out how much more I leave before I cut it all up, and figure out how much more I need for binding for the rest of the quilt. Okay, so now with that being said, you take the rest of what you have left, and those hourglasses are going to go on the outside of those strips on each side. And you are going to add your sides first. And if you're never sure, but you can always see by the photograph that those go on first. And again, I look at my picture to see where the colorway goes. So in here, if you look at it, the light color goes to the inside of the quilt. The dark of those hourglass are on the outside. So here's the inside border, and then the hourglass are here, and then they meet in the corner. Okay, so you have the hourglass, and then you have half square triangles that meet on the outside that you did make. So you should have all of those. So you have the sides, then you have that long edge with the half square triangles on the corner. And when you see that, that's making that corner turn for you. Okay, and then when you get that on, guess what? Your quilt is finished. You're all done. Your quilt top is done. And then you're ready to put it all together, sandwich it and quilt it, and have your quilt finished. And you have this nice big quilt, and your year of quilt making is complete. So Jerry and I would just like to take this time to thank you for joining us for the year. We really, really appreciate it. We appreciate you being customers. We know that it's been a challenging year for all of us. We thank you for hanging in there. It means the world to us. You're a great family. You're great participants. We love you being a part of this. We love you going through the challenges of this year and still making quilts, being excited about quilting just like we are, welcoming us to our new store. It's just terrific. We do have 2 new Saturday Sampler programs that we're actually offering this year. I know we're crazy, but we're excited about quilting, hoping that maybe you'll join us on our new adventure. Of course, we're doing it all remote again. I'm hoping that the videos helped some of you through the transition. We love doing it all, and we love having you as a part of our family. Whatever holiday you celebrate this season, we hope you have a joyous one. Be safe out there, have a good time, and we are welcoming in 2020 to a new, exciting...
21.
Not 2020, 2021. Yes, we got to get rid of 2020. 2021, and we hope that it's wonderful, exciting, and we look forward to having all of you join us in this great new year. Thanks so much.